name is Sarah, and today we're talking about Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. So Illuminae is the first book in a brand new young adult sci-fi series called the Illuminae Files, written by Australian authors Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. It was released in November 2015 to much hype, and oh my goodness, did it live up to the hype. In this first story, we follow two main characters, Katie and Ezra. The year is 2575, and only this morning, Katie has broken up with Ezra and told him she never wants to see him again. Later that afternoon, their planet is invaded by an evil corporation, and they have to make a break for it in spaceships. As they travel across the galaxy in an attempt to escape this evil corporation, all kinds of craziness ensues, including a biochemical virus infecting one of the ships and the AI of one of the ships going completely haywire. So first things first, I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and adored everything about it from start to finish. Aside from the fact that we have an obviously gorgeous dust cover and an insanely cool naked hardback, the inside of this book is pretty darn cool looking too. The reason for that being, the entire book is told not in your standard prose, but rather as a dossier full of documents detailing the events that followed the invasion of this planet by this evil corporation. As a result, the entire story is told through interview transcripts, memos, journal entries, IM conversations, video surveillance footage, and even the records from inside the mind of the artificial intelligence on one of the ships. So aside from being absolutely visually stunning, this story is just so fascinating. It grabbed me from the very beginning, and I did not want to put this book down. The story is about 600 pages long, but it reads so quickly, and it is so engrossing and fascinating that it will absolutely fly by. We primarily follow two main characters throughout the story, Katie and Ezra, and I loved them both. Katie is sassy and spunky. She is fierce and determined and wicked smart, and I just loved everything about her. She's separated from both Ezra and her mother based on the ship she winds up on, so in a lot of respects, she's completely and totally alone after having just survived this crazy attack on her planet. Katie very quickly determines that the leadership on all of the ships are not telling everyone what is actually going on, and decides that she is going to figure it out. Like I said, girl is wicked smart. She is a hacker and quickly begins using her skills to get a hold of all sorts of documents that she should not have access to, but are helping her figure out what in the world is going on. Eventually, she begins talking with Ezra again and enlists his help to put the pieces together so they can figure out what on earth has happened to their planet, why it happened, and where they're going from here. Ezra as a character is also really fun. He's not as fierce and spunky as Katie is, but he is the perfect complement to her. He has a sort of self-deprecating humor that is really endearing and lovable, and I just sort of picture him as this kind of tall, gangly guy who always has hair in his eyes, but just super adorable and wonderful, and one of those people that is just really charming and funny and you just enjoy being around. He's also very smart, though not a hacker like Katie. He quickly rises to the top of the ranks as a pilot and proves his worth in that arena, and I just love them individually as characters, but I also really loved to see how the two of them interact with each other. Katie and Ezra's banter back and forth in their IM conversations is just delightful, and even though it was a little bit painful for my grammar-loving heart to watch the IM lingo, I at least know that it was intentional. It's just really fun and sweet to see how their conversations grow and develop, and how they start to reform this relationship that Katie thought she had broken off. And it's really fascinating to see how Katie eventually comes to the realization that the only person that can really help her figure out what on earth is going on is the person she swore she would never speak to again. The other character that I absolutely loved in this story, and this is one of the reasons why this story is so unique and I love it so much, is one of our other main characters is the artificial intelligence on one of the ships, named Aiden. Aiden begins to play a very large role at the further along we get into the story, and I just thought it was so fascinating how Amie and Jay took this it kind of being this artificial intelligence that's not a human and turned it into a character with depth and emotion, and it was just so fascinating. I absolutely loved how they did that, and how so much of the story revolves around this artificial intelligence sort of becoming self-aware, and it's so fascinating to me. I loved how they developed that character, how it played into the story, how the AI's intelligence sort of analogs, told its own version of what was happening, apart from the conversations and video surveillance and things like that that Katie and Ezra and all the other people on the ships were having. And it was so cool. Because of how this story is told, we get a lot of perspectives other than just Katie, Ezra, and Aiden. We get the perspective of the various captains on the ship, of some of the different people that Ezra and Katie are interacting with directly through IM conversations, through actual conversations, video surveillance footage, etc. And all of the characters in this story are so well developed and fleshed out, which it's really interesting because a story told like this, that is basically just told through documents, you wouldn't necessarily think character development would be particularly easy because you rely so much on dialogue and not a whole lot else, or a lot of the different kinds of documents that are used to tell this story. But even though so much of the story is told through things like IM conversations and emails, the character development was fantastic. I really felt like all of the characters in this story, beyond our sort of main three, are very well rounded, and I felt for all of them as they all progressed through the story and were fighting to survive this crazy, chaotic thing that happened, and it was just fantastic. One thing that I did have a very slight issue with is at the beginning of the story, the first 20 pages or so, it is a little bit confusing when you first start reading, trying to figure out who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, because they're just sort of referring to different ship names, the ship names that Katie and Ezra and the rest of the refugees are on, and the ships that attacked the planet. Once you figure out who's good and who's bad, everything's really easy to keep straight. But in those first 20-ish pages where I was figuring out who was good and bad, I was a little bit confused. But once I got past that, I loved every second of the story, and even that initial like, okay, wait, who's good, who's bad, that I felt at the beginning of the story could in no way overshadow my love for how the story as a whole develops. This is definitely an intense, stressful read at a lot of points. There are a lot of heart in your throat kind of moments. It is a roller coaster from start to finish. You will laugh, you will cry, your heart will break, your heart will be put back together. It is just a fantastic story. Well, there you have it, friends. That is my review of Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. If you have read the book, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please let me know in the comments below. If you want to follow me elsewhere online, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, all at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for all of those profiles will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! So in this first book, we follow two main characters, Katie and Ezra, as they travel through the galaxy attempting to